Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Angie and you are listening to Awakening's Thought of the Day. So I'm going to bring you guys something a little bit different than usual to my channel. And we're going to have a conversation today about the imposter syndrome. So a little bit about it is that the imposter syndrome is a false self-identity that is born of the ego. So false self-beliefs that come from a place of self-love deficit disorder. So one may ask, what is self-love deficit disorder? Self-love deficit disorder can develop in feelings of codependency, which manifests in areas of toxic relationships, persons staying in bad relationships in fear of not making it in the material world or on their own, or not knowing their value within themselves to walk away from a bad situation. But truly, the overall definition is further expanded into saying the following. And this is from psychcentral.com. The absence of self-love results in deeply embedded insecurities that render a person powerless to set boundaries or control their narcissistic loved ones. The person with self-love deficit disorder is often oblivious or in denial about their dysfunctional relationship patterns with narcissists, as they admit to it would require them to face their core shame and pathological loneliness felt inside. As we are basically an adult version of our child selves, we do not address this, it tends to lead to us feeling trapped in fear, recreating our own family dynamics that are toxic for our children, and the cycle of the imposter continues in our family lineage through our own self-limiting beliefs. This is born from the ego, as this is the beginning of the false self of identity. This can be recreated from growing up in a family that has limited resources, such as low income, single parent household, third world country, or parents who continue to choose partners who are not available mentally, physically, or emotionally. Typically as well, parents who created this false identity for children are persons who have made choices to choose partners typically because of money, power, or even appearances in some cases, where they'll ask themselves questions, what will others think of me, or just simply not knowing their own worth. And children growing up tend to witness trauma and violence in the home, as typically one parent can take form of a narcissist and an empath dynamic, or both parents are narcissists. This then creates the imposter syndrome in children and the cycle of wanting to seek validation outside of yourself, as you never ever feel good enough. Trust me, I know. I have been there, and therefore I come to you today with this message. As a part of my twin flame healing journey, I have started to get real with myself and acknowledge myself. Self-love deficit exists in all the areas of my life. I then further concluded why I buy expensive items, reaching higher employment status within the material world, and even tackle items such as my own eating disorder with binge eating, and had many failed relationships, and even being an overachiever in my education, and my list is endless. A question to ask yourself is, why am I an imposter? I am an imposter because no matter how hard I try, I never feel good enough. Today, I break this down into 5 different personality types that represent the imposter, but someone can demonstrate all 5 or even demonstrate one or more in various types of settings, which can be shown in work environments, school, work, church, and so much more. You may even know someone who shows this type of behavior. So, the Muse.com actually did a phenomenal job by breaking down the types of imposters, which I'm going to share with you today. So the first imposter that I'm going to share with you is the perfectionist. And this imposter syndrome often goes hand in hand. So just stop for a second and think about it. Perfectionists set excessively high goals for themselves. And when they fail to even reach this goal, they experience major self doubt and worry about measuring up. I will never be good enough. Whether they realize it or not, this group can also be control freaks, feeling like if they want something done right, they have to do it themselves. You know, that person that's just hogging all the work or doesn't want to let anyone get too close or just feels as if people are stupid or they won't be able to help them. So, questions that I have for you to ask yourself if this applies to you is, have you ever been accused of being a micromanager? Do you have great difficulty delegating? Even when you're able to do so, do you feel frustrated and disappointed in the results? When you miss the insanely high mark on something, do you accuse yourself of not being cut out for your job and this ruminates with you for days? Do you feel like it must be 100% perfect 100% of the time? Have you been holding off from asking a girl on a date because you feel you don't have enough money or you need to lose that 10 pounds? My advice to you is owning and celebrating your achievements is an essential part of your recovery process. If you want to avoid feeling burned out, find contentment and cultivate your self-confidence. Small victories, even if doing things like journaling or going for a walk in the community, or even spending time for yourself and acknowledging that it can't always be perfect. Finally, learn to take your mistakes in strides. Viewing them is a natural part of the process. In addition, push yourself to act before you're ready. Force yourself to start that project that you've been planning for months. The truth of the matter is, there will never be that perfect time, and your work will never be 100% flawless. The sooner that you're able to accept that, the better off you'll be, and glad that you did it, and that you'll be all right. I come to you again with number 2, the Superwoman Superman syndrome of the imposter. Since people experience this phenomenon, they're convinced that they're a phony. They're the real deal amongst their colleagues. They often push themselves to work harder and harder to measure up. But this is just one of the false cover-ups of their insecurities, and the work overload may harm not only their own mental health, but their relationships with others. So, not sure yet if this is you? Do you stay later at the office than the rest of your team, or even past the point that you've completed that day's necessary work? Do you get stressed when you're not working and find downtime completely wasteful? Have you left your hobbies and passions to the wayside, sacrificing it because of your work? Do you feel like you haven't truly earned your title despite multiple degrees and achievements? So you feel pressed to work harder and longer than those around you just to prove your worth. The imposter typically takes forms in workaholism, and they're actually addicted to the validation that comes from working, not from the work itself. Start training yourself to veer away from this external validation. No one should ever have more power to make you feel good about yourself than you. Even your boss, when they give you that project, the stamp of approval. On the flip side, learn to take constructive criticism seriously and not personally. As you become more attuned to the external validation, you're able to nurture your inner confidence that states that you're competent and skilled, and you'll be able to ease off the gas as you gauge how much work is reasonable. And your family and friends and even yourself will thank you once you do this. So I come to you again with number 3, the natural genius. So I know for myself, I'm someone who definitely falls sometimes in this category as well, as I am a young person, and this typically tends to happen with young people, as they basically are competent and believe to be a natural genius. As such, they judge their competence based on the ease and speed as opposed to their efforts. In other words, if they take a long time to master something, they feel ashamed. These types of imposters set their external bars impossibly high, just like perfectionists. But natural geniuses types don't judge themselves based on ridiculous expectations. They judge themselves based on getting things right on the first try. When they're not able to do something quickly or fluently, their alarm sounds within themselves. So, not sure yet if this applies to you? Are you used to exceeding with very little effort? Do you have a track record for getting straight A's or golden star in everything that you do? Were you told frequently as a child that you were the smart one in your family or peer group? Do you dislike the idea of having a mentor because you think that you can handle things on your own? When you're faced with a setback, does your confidence tumble because you're not performing well, provokes a feeling of shame? Do you often avoid challenges because it's so uncomfortable to try something you're not great at? So what I ask you today in order to move past this is to try to seek yourself as a work in progress. Accomplishing great things involves lifelong skill building for everyone, even the most confident of people. Rather than beating yourself up when you don't reach your impossibly high standards, identify specific changeable behaviors that you can improve over time. So this is imposter number 4, the soloist. Asking for help reveals what to this personality type? It reveals that you are a coward. You can't manage to handle things on your own. It's okay to be independent, don't get me wrong, but it's not the extent that you refuse assistance so that you can prove your worth. So not sure yet if this is you? Ask yourself these questions. Do you firmly feel that you need to accomplish things on your own? I don't need anyone. Does that sound like you? Do you frame requests in terms of the requirements of a project rather than the needs as a person? Realize that there is no shame in asking for help when you need it. If you don't know how to do something, you can ask a coworker, a family member, or even a friend. If you can't figure out how to solve the problem, seek advice from even a supportive supervisor or a career coach. A family member or a friend, someone that can be there for you, is how you can overcome this imposter syndrome. The 5th and final imposter that I leave you with today is the expert. So experts measure their competence based on what and how much they know they can do. So believing that they will never know enough, their fear of being exposed as inexperienced or unknowledgeable. Do you shy away from applying for jobs unless you meet every single educational requirement? Are you constantly seeking out trainings or certifications because you think that you need to improve your skills in order to succeed? Even if you've been in this role for some time, can you relate to feelings like you still don't know enough? Do you shoulder when someone says that you're an expert? It's true that there are far more ways to learn, but striving to bulk up to set you certainly doesn't help your situation. But taking too far the tedious or endless seek out more information can actually be a form of procrastination. Start practicing just-in-time learning. This means that you acquire a skill when you need it. For example, if your responsibilities change rather than hoarding knowledge for false comfort. Mentoring junior colleagues or volunteering can be a way that you discover your inner expert. When you share what you know, it not only benefits others, but it helps you heal your fraudulent feelings within. So I'm going to conclude this imposter syndrome. And I actually pulled a card from Spirit about this for the collective, because I also read tarot cards as well. So it says, share your inner voice. Come out of the cave. It says pre-conclusion expression. So let's read what Spirit has to help us overcome this imposter syndrome. So it says, share your voice. I need to look for it. Here we go, 76. So come out of your cave. Preclusion expression. You are being called to share your voice, perhaps by speaking up in a relationship or through writing, speaking, singing, or some other form of creative expression. We each hold a truth deep within us that longs to be expressed, sculpted for lifetimes. The voice of your soul is like no other. It carries with it wisdom that can only be gained through soul history and growth. By remembering, tapping in, and expressing this unique tone, we not only heal ourselves, but we heal the planet at large. When you share your voice, you unlock something in the universe and call a missing piece of you home. Your individual voice is the most powerful sound current on the planet. If you have kept your soul's voice silenced or held back, chanting or singing could be truly life-changing for you. As we shed the layers of our personality, we start letting our unique soul speak through us. We discover what is actually have a very clear message that longs to be shared. The more we speak it, the clearer it gets. There has never been a better time in history than right now to rise up. Speak your truth and share your soul's voice. If you feel fearful, know that you are not alone and the world needs your unique tone in order to harmonize. As we each rise up and share our song, we make it easier for the next person to do the same. So the activation for this card is express yourself, share your voice, and speak to those who can hear you. So that's what I have for you. If this resonates or if you like my content, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much to everybody for your support. Take care.